Welcome to this evening's edition of Indigenization Appreciation Hour. It is Indigenization Appreciation Hour, so I would appreciate it if you keep the questions relevant to the topic. So let me get down to it. So we have Anubhav Srivastava asking, "Hey Saurav, hope you're well." Well, yes, I am now. Thank you. Recently, some reports suggested that Ghatak has same timelines as AMCA. Do you think that is accurate? A drone shouldn't take same development testing time as a jet. Well, not necessarily. But anyway, it's not called the Ghatak anymore. I think we should stick with IUSAV for the time being, Indian Unmanned Strike Aerial Vehicle. It has timelines that basically run parallel with the AMCA, yes. But you're likely to see, I think this program will run ahead of the AMCA eventually. So I hope that answers your question. Let me go to the next one. Okay. Shadow Fury asks, any update on SSN program of Indian Navy? Any progress on joint development of indigenous jet engine program? Okay, the first question. As far as the SSN program is concerned, it's a matter of what, you know, it's very much ongoing. It's also a question of what path we are going to take. If we build an SSN which is basically derived from our SSBN program, then the timelines are, the time taken to actually launch and deploy such SSNs is much lower than if you try to offer a new power plant, very new design, etc., etc. So that is where things are at. Let the Navy share more about this as and when they choose fit. Now, and the second question is, any progress on joint development of indigenous jet engine program? Well, there are only two possibilities here. Either you're going to see basically India firming up with either the French or the British, most likely the French, who have asked for a considerable sum of money to develop a 110 kilonewton jet engine. And I think if once the decision is taken at the very highest levels, you'll see it being sewn up this year itself. Basically, a joint venture, a special purpose vehicle is being set up to implement the development, or rather to progress the development of a new 110 kilonewton low bypass turbofan jet engine for the AMCA, obviously, and so on and so forth. The Americans, meanwhile, out of sheer FOMO, are now again making noises about transferring F114 tech to India, especially it's uprated versions like the EPE and the EDE and stuff like that. EPE, of course, is what really matches the thrust requirement, and so on and so forth. And there may be some people who say, why don't we just stockpile F114 engines? Not F114 engines, F414 engines. Sorry, F414 engines. Why don't we just stockpile them? Some people may think there is merit in that, but I am not of the opinion. I'm of the opinion there isn't. I think if the price is not that high, we should definitely go with joint development, because we can't go over this again and again. The joint development that is being proposed is something that will definitely increase India's know-why and know-how in the realm of jet engine technology and make us self-reliant from the 2030s onwards. Next question. Aditya Prakash. Hi, what according to you are the great TOT success stories for India and its impact? Also the biggest short-sighted mistakes made by us towards platforms or systems we could have bought or developed but didn't. Okay. Great TOT success stories. Vikas engine, which was basically the Viking, which we absorbed from the French and made the Vikas, and then it was turned into, and you can see that it has been modified over the years and improved upon. So that is one great success story. Once the fast breeder reactor becomes the prototype fast breeder reactor actually goes critical, which I hope it will this year, then that could also be considered a derivative TOT story, because the FBTR that we use to develop our capability in the realm of fast breeder technology, the fast breeder test reactor in Kalpakam, which is now connected to the grid also, that was also basically a French design. So then there are success stories. Of course, the nuclear submarine reactors are an example of TOT and handholding. Of course, there are plenty of inputs from DA's side directly. Then there are success stories in the realm of solid state radar technology, where initial TOT from the Israelis helped us a lot in developing our own solid state radar technology, which is now almost world class. Okay, as far as the other question is, biggest short-sighted mistakes, obviously HF-73, that is the biggest mistake. The strike deep penetration strike aircraft that would have come after the Marut. That was the greatest mistake we ever made. HF-73. If you look at the cardinal parameter, the specifications of the HF-73, it was going to be an absolute winner. It was capable of Mach 2. It was supersonic at all altitudes. It was capable of deep penetration strike. It could fly at a very high altitude also, and that is something we should have definitely pursued. We just allowed and that is exactly why we need to go full steam ahead with the Tejas Mark 2 and the AMCA to ensure that the same story is not repeated again. Okay, next question. Shivam Dubey asks, does India have an HGV program like Russia has Avangard? HGV China has DFZF. HGV, what is its time frame? Yes, India does have a hypersonic light vehicle program. Time frame is next 5 to 7 years. Okay, next question. 1 second. Ayush Raj, TOI published an article saying that Malaysian officials will hold negotiations with HAL officials. Is Tejas Mark 1A sale to Malaysia confirmed now? Can we expect them on board for Tejas Mark 2 AMC in the future? You cannot say it is confirmed or not, but it's definitely progressing well. In fact, I had tweeted about this stuff earlier also, that a contra deal for palm oil, jets for palm oil was on the cards. And even the HAL annual report, last year's HAL annual report confirmed the same. So yes, I think it's at an advanced stage, and the probability of success is definitely on the higher side. Right, so let's put it that way. Can we expect them to be on board for Tejas Mark 2 AMC? Well, it depends on what their requirements are and what their budgets are like. They don't exactly have the largest budget out there. They don't have an insignificant budget, but they don't have a very big budget either. So we'll see, because the AMCA is going to be a costly proposition. It's not going to be cheap because of its features. Satyaki, thank you, sir. I'm not able to pat for subscription as I'm still a student. Oh, that's fine. Satyaki then asks, thanks a lot. When I will start earning, I will be sure to support your work, Dada. I really appreciate it. I do hope that you can also become a major support to indigenization in more than one way. Okay, next question. Mick Gisal says, hey you, with a sticker. Well, hey you back to you, hey you back. Next question, Ravi Mohan Chauhan says, how is the Tejas Mark 2 progressing? Will it be on time? Tejas Mark 2 is being progressed using LCA Phase 3 funds right now. Okay, I have said this before, I'm saying it again. It needs fresh sanctions, basically. It needs new money for it to progress properly. 4 prototypes have to be built. Currently, 1 prototype is being built using money that has been allocated for basically LCA Mark 1 development, right? So that is where we are at right now. You won't see the first flight before 2023, obviously. I'll write an article on this. Milk Gisal asks, there is no need for a FTB there is a need, yes, for an FTB to develop an indigenous turbofan. Please comment on making FTB from Air India 747 aircraft. It depends on how many flight-worthy hours are left on those 747 aircraft. It can be done, not out of the realm of possibility at all. Kaveri tested up to 78 kn. Can we put it on a spare MiG-29? This was an idea that was floated, of putting the Kaveri on a spare, MiG-29, or getting one from the Gromov Flight Research Institute, because they have some of these MiG-29 airframes lying around as well. But all of this will cost money, and it will require, again, cabinet sanction. It can't be done from DRDO's internal funds. Ramu, what is your opinion on Chinese 5th gen fighter? Hasn't matured fully yet. And as long as they are flying with the engines that they are, you can't really call it a 5th gen fighter. Okay, next question. Next question over here is from Alucard. Maybe I'm wrong, 42 Squadron aircraft requirement was based on specific kind of aircraft like interceptor, ground aircraft, air defense, etc. But current ones are all multi-role. Do we still need 42 Squadron? We actually need more than 42 Squadron. And we need a better mix also. You see, it's true that we have today's platforms can do more than, and I'm not, confined to any one specific role. But then neither are the enemy's aircraft. The tempo of operations has gone up. The number of places you need to be has gone up. The number of times you need to be at the same place has gone up. Okay, so the number of airframes you need, given wear and tear and other issues, has also gone up. So it's not you. We actually need to grow as an air force. I would say beyond 42 squadron, and our areas of responsibility have also grown. And even in a short span conflict, given the kind of integrated air and missile defenses we are seeing nowadays, the kind of attrition rates you may suffer would are something that you will definitely, if you don't, very good. If your planning is great, maybe you made some advances in EW that give you an edge, etc. But you need to plan for the worst, and for that you need numbers. Subodh Deshpande asks, what's your opinion on orbital kinetic bombardment systems? Are Americans working towards it? What's the bottleneck for us to do the same? Oh, you mean rods from God, Project Thor? I would say, orbital kinetic bombardment system would require you've seen it in that film also, G.I. Joe retaliation, right? So basically, you will need something. They had the material they had sort of zeroed in on was tungsten penetrators, but there is no guarantee that after launching a tungsten penetrator from that height, even if it survives re-entry, it's not going to vaporize the moment it hits the target and doesn't actually attain any penetration. So that is one big issue. Secondly, this rods from God keeps coming back, but it's not so easy to do. There are many issues. Maybe we'll write something on DDR talking about this. What are the challenges, etc. Sharad says, hello from Melbourne. Amazing work by DDR. Thank you so much for your constant updates. Why is the government not as keen to develop drone technology rather quickly as future of warfare is unmanned? Okay, thank you for the praise that you've voiced for DDR, or rather have written for DDR. And why is the government not as keen to develop? The government is keen to develop drone technology. But you have to understand something, TV2, Bayraktar and others have got a lot of good press. But now that the front lines have frozen and the Russians have been able to deploy their air defenses and electronic warfare systems properly without worrying about, their own operations getting impaired, the TV2 is not effective anymore. And the Ukrainian pilots on, I think, that site called the War Zone, that is a subsite, sort of a blog as part of the drive. The interview, they've said as much. So, and in the Himalayas, these Chinese propeller-driven drones get detected fairly easily and quickly. And then there are line of sight issues, so they can't engage from very far away either. They can't engage from the edge of their envelope, the engagement envelope of the air-to-ground munitions they're carrying. So they are going to be toast. So people are not that convinced of, a propeller-driven drone with anti-tank missiles being very effective in the subcontinental scenario. Having said that, people are now going forward with drone technology in a major way in India. You're going to see the Rustam, basically the Tapas BH-201, the Rustam 2 enter service not quite soon. You're going to see maybe 100 or 200 units of that Archer SR UAV being built, which is a weaponized version of the Rustam 1. You're going to see this Ghatak come to reach fruition. You're also going to see a new Hail UAV from ADE, a jet-powered Hail UAV. So you're going to see a whole lot of Indian drones soon. And they're going to be built in numbers using both public and private, players. Okay, next question. See, will Tejas Mark II be next question. Will Tejas Mark II be underpowered as size has been increased till the selection of G414? No, it will be powered by F414s, which have already arrived also. So it's not going to be underpowered. Offbeat pictures. Can you see any possibility of single engine stealth jet? No. Mikoyan07. AF has talked about network centricity since many years. After the February 27 events and lack of awareness of Galwan, does it not cast doubt on the level of this technology with us? No. There was no intelligence failure in Galwan. Let me put it that way. And events of February 27 do not show that the IF was lacking in its air situational awareness, or they didn't have a composite air situational picture. I think IF has broadly moved from being a network-enabled force to a network-centric force. I don't think those were the problems that were really shown up on February 27th. Dhruv Raman Singh asks, opinion on Astra Mark II and its comparison with Chinese and Pakistani counterparts. Will be edge or parity over China after Master Mark II and Mark III induction. Mark II and Mark III will give us the edge. I won't go into details why. Jeffrey Royan asks, can you talk about the VL SR SAM and the implications for the Indian Navy considering our warships carry limited SAM capabilities for their weight class? Well, if you look at the VL SR SAM, it's going to be highly capable against sea skimming cruise missiles. Things which cannot really be engaged by, say, the MR SAM. See, the Barak 8 on the Indian Navy ships is no longer called an MR SAM. It's called LR SAM. It's called an MR SAM also, just like its counterparts for the Air Force and Army. So there are certain kinds of ships here. There are certain approach profiles which cannot be engaged by the MR SAM. Those will be engaged by this PDMS called the VLSR SAM, and I think it's going to be highly capable because the radar is very good. Kshitij Kumar, is LCA to Egypt a real possibility? Well, once LCA Mark 1A starts rolling out, yes. Because you see, they can go up to 20 airframes a year, HAL. HAL can grow up to 20 airframes a year now. It has the capability to do that. So if 16 are built for the Indian Air Force, 4 can always be built for somebody else. So 4 per year, or then, and if the order is much, and of course if Egypt is willing to make the upfront investments in terms of maybe in kind also, maybe a contra deal for ONG is possible there as well, then yes, other things can also happen. I had always said this, that sooner or later we will also have to start, we'll have to start offering licensed production ourselves, and we should prepare for that future. Next question, Chayan Roy. How does the new RD33 MKK compare with F414? F414 is superior to RD33 MK in many different ways. The Americans are world leaders in jet engine technology. There's no question of it. The Russians are at least 3-4 steps behind, maybe 5. The French are 2-3 steps behind, maybe 2 steps behind. Maybe in some cases, maybe not completely, not that behind either. And the Chinese are 10 steps behind. Okay, Mars. What do you think about the vertical stabilizer on the Swift? Well, look, I'm not a aeronautics engineer or a physicist or something, but I can tell you what does a vertical stabilizer do. Vertical stabilizer basically provides yaw stability. Yaw is basically the tendency of an aircraft to move from side to side, right? And you don't want that in level flight unless you really want it. You want to bank this way or point in another direction. So yaw stability is what basically the vertical stabilizer, and usually it has a rudder as well that provides it. Now, in the case of flying wing designs, you often don't see. It's not right to think that flying wing by necessarily will never have a vertical stabilizer. If you remember the YB-49, which was one of the early big flying wing bombers that the Americans had developed, when you move from the propeller, the pusher propeller configuration to the jet engine configuration, they added these small vertical stabilizers. Because the amount of yaw that was happening once due to increased thrust, etc., and change in the center of gravity, it could not be counteracted simply by the trailing edge of the wingtips. What happens in flying wing aircraft is, because of the sweep, the edge, the end, the wingtip ends where you may have split ailerons or even small anhedral wings located. Those are so far back that they can provide a counterbalancing, basically they can provide enough counterbalancing torque to the tendency to yaw for an aircraft by themselves. So there is no need for a vertical stabilizer in a flying wing design. So just the ailerons or added small anhedral winglets can do the job. They provide the necessary drag. And what do you need for torque? Basically you need leverage. You need the vertical stabilizer to be as far behind the airplane's center of gravity, which is where the lift is generated. And the further back it is, the more effective it will be. In the case of a flying wing design, it's the wing sweep itself brings the tip of the wings way back. basically way back to the wingtips way back, which can provide the necessary counterbalancing torque by by way of drag, and therefore yaw stability. But you need very advanced fly-by-wire controls to actually make it happen, because those that same feature, either split ailerons or anhedral wingtips, can lead to greater roll and pitch instability. It has a tendency may make the plane roll, can lead to greater pitch problems, pitch instability. So you need better flight control systems. So I'm not surprised that initially they are going with a vertical stabilizer. As and when the control law matures, you will see the vertical stabilizer disappear from the basically new Swift iterations and the Ghatak as well. And you will rely more and more on the what modern day flying wings use to basically attain yaw stability. So it's not a big deal actually. It's not such a big deal. And the models are, let's say, fungible enough that they can account for the lack of, they can study. You can study enough of the dynamics and the flow around the, what do you call that, the flying wing of the Swift as it stands now, in a way that you can adjust it enough to get to a point where you lose the vertical stabilizer. So that is where things are. Again, I'm not an aerodynamicist or an aeronautical engineer or anything. I have only read this stuff. I'm not a practitioner of these things. Okay, next. The question is, what do you call that? Okay. Okay. Can you give us some details about Swift's recent test and integration of fin stabilizers? I've already answered the vertical stabilizer part. Details is that it was a very good flight. The avionics was proven in this flight. They were very happy. The command links were proven. Basically, the VHF links, waypoint navigation was proven. ATOL was proven. So you had a lot of gains. Okay. Abhinav, does LCA Tejas have drag issues? Yes. Unfortunately, it is not as streamlined as we would have wanted it. But through the production process, through concurrent engineering, a lot of those drag issues have been resolved because of improvements on the production side. And LCA Mark II does not, Tejas Mark II does not have drag issues. But even with the design not being as efficient as ADA would have wanted, it's still quite good. Still good in terms of its sustain rate, turn rate, in terms of its ITR, in terms of its acceleration, transonic acceleration, in terms of its climb rate. It's very good. It's quite comparable with things out there. Okay, next question. Frontliner UV. When will we see DRDO AD Hail UAV? This decade. Any update on that program? We'll write something. Okay. Next question. Unsync. What's the status of co-orbital ASAT? Let DRDO tell you what the status is when they are ready to talk about it. Hemant Swami. Hello Saurav Jha. The ATGMs have been in development for some time. The IF has been looking towards manufacturers for the same. Are there any dalals involved trying to derail the same? Okay. You're going to see, if you're talking about the man-portable ATGM, it's basically in the user trial stage and it will be inducted. As far as dalals are always at it as far as our defense industrial sector is concerned. They are always at, that's their version of golf basically. Trying to derail programs is basically the dalal's version of golf. So they are always at it. So there's nothing new there. Okay. Frankenstein CS asks, status on Navy's landing helicopter dock. HAL IMRH ISRO SCE 200 Desi stealth scalp missile, minimum 500 kilometer range, and XR7. So basically everything. You want the status of everything, right? Okay. Okay, I'll give you the status. Landing helicopter dock, they need to program funds for it. HAL IMRH progressing well. Will get certification within this decade, in the 2020s, that is. ISRO SEC 200 progressing well. You will soon see a first flight with this. Desi Stealth Scalp Missile SLCM progressing very well and much cheaper than Scalp. So I hope to see it being inducted. Okay. Ramu, your opinion, park drone capabilities entirely dependent on China and Turkey. and the UCAP 3 and all don't count. There are many problems. Okay. Alex Delage. Why has our three-stage nuclear power program slowed? Have we been waiting forever? Have been waiting forever for PFBR? Has Fukushima and activists ruined it for all? They haven't ruined it all, but they did have a role in slowing it down as well. These two things. Something nefarious at play to stop the neutrino observatory as well. Yes, and so INO requires our support. Arun Sharma, is mod looking beyond Tejas Mark II given the delay in sanctions? Tejas Mark II, no, Tejas Mark II will happen, but the sanctions we'll have to push for it. That is why indigenization appreciation are. Like you guys need to drum up support for the Tejas Mark II. Russell Thunder. Instead of developing a fifth generation AMC, do you think we should instead collaborate with countries like Japan or USA who are almost done making the 6th gen fighter, as ours will be too late by then? They are not done making the 6th gen fighter. The American NG, if you've been following the news, there have been some developments in the NGAD program, that whole digital century series fighter that they had developed suddenly. They're abandoning that design and they're going to go in for a much more long drawn process for another design. Or they maybe not abandoning the design, but they are going to go through a long drawn process to make it suitable for what they want. Second, Japan is also nowhere near a 6th generation fighter. They are developing a 5th generation fighter only right now, which will have 6th generation add-on features. And in the 2030s, you will see the 6th generation fighter prototype start flying basically. So it's not the case. We have to develop. We can't be dependent on others. That is exactly the point of indigenization appreciation art. The avionics is with us. The stealth materials have been developed. It's just a matter of the engine. So we are there. We need to move forward quickly. 5th generation fighters are going to be around till at least 2090. Next question. Bhavishya. What are the chances of China invading Bharat instead of Taiwan? Because if they go for Bharat, it will be like Ukraine versus Russia. But in the case of America, America will come into play. It won't be exactly Russia versus Ukraine because we are much more capable than Ukraine. And we have nuclear weapons. But yes, there is I would say that the possibility of them starting something with India is very high. The probability of them starting something with India is higher than that of them starting something with Taiwan. And precisely because of what you said, because America will come into play. Mohinat Burman, in the report of being the front runner, is the report of being the front runner of Tejas for the Malaysian deal true? I've already answered this question. Lakshmi Shah KS sends 400 rupees. Thank you for that. I hope others follow your, emulate you in contributing to IAH and give us some support for the work we do. You can use either the super sticker or you can send it to, send it to this VPA, which I am typing out right now. You can send it to this VPA. This is our VPA account. You can send it to that SJDR Limited 2367 at UPI. You can send it there. You can send your contributions there. Next question. Negotiate a Navy. Regarding our next indigenous carrier, did the detailed design works for 65,000 ton Catobar carrier start in the mid 2010s, or was it just conceptual designs that didn't cross preliminary design phase? I am going to lean more towards the conceptual design sort of proposition or idea. Sachin Dangui, what is your view about performance on M777 in Ukraine? Well, I've seen some Russian reports that they are apparently not doing well and they're failing. We'll have to see. We don't have enough intel on this right now. Now that the Russian army has captured Lysychansk, what is the next immediate objective of Russian? What is their exit strategy? Well, I'll tell you this. I had said this before also. I've said this on earlier episodes of Indigenization Appreciation Art. They're going to throw everything at the Donbass. They're going to capture all of the Donbass. And they will go for Odessa as well at some point. That will be the... You see, what is happening right now is that there are back channel negotiations going on between the Americans and Russia as to what exactly Russia's war aims are. Okay, the Russians are basically telling them, look, delay shipments to Ukraine. We are going to attain this in short order and everybody goes back home happy. But what the Americans must be telling them is, what are you going to give us in return? And where exactly will you stop? So you get the picture, right? Ravi Mohan Chauhan. The Americans would ideally want them to stop in the Donbass, but I think the Russians will go for Odessa. Okay. I think Archit Chauhana, sir, How old is the HSDTV program? The oldest completion of activity I've seen is from 2002, HRV, experimental evaluation aerodynamic characteristics of HRV vehicle configured at low speeds. You know, HSTDV program actually was supposed to take off in 2006 as well, but then there was a change of guard and there were issues. It's a long story. You can consider it really to have taken off in, I would say, in the last 5-6 years properly. Shubhade, does Pakistan's purchase of a lot of Turkish UAV be a concern? Well, somewhat of a concern, yes. Are we ignoring it? No, we are not. In a war scenario, those cheap TB2 and Akinchis can exhaust our SAMs and give the jets unrestrained. No, they can't. We'll have more than 4,000 Akash SAMs. They can't exhaust our SAMs. Are they going to have 200? They won't even have 200, 300 TB2s. And we have very good EW capability as well. They may try to saturate us, but they won't be able to. And we will attack the ground control stations as well. We will attack the drone bases as well. We're not just going to sit around waiting for some drones to fly around, you know. Then Roshan Khan, how potent is our defense intelligence agency? I will not comment on this. Can they provide sufficient intelligence to mod on PLA next intention against India? How our intelligence agencies missed PLA build-up in 2020? They did not miss PLA build-up. There was no intelligence failure. I've said this 1,000 times. Okay, Siddharth Singh. Why are we going so slow on the drone front? DRDO side, I've answered this. We are not going slow. You're going to see the threshold has been crossed and you're going to see more and more products come out which are going to be produced in numbers. Vinay DRM, Jai Hind, Saurav sir, Jai Hind to you as well. Does BARC have the capability to make nuclear reactor for aircraft carriers? Yes, broadly speaking, but it'll take time. And what will be the approximate cost for 65,000 ton nuclear carriers EMALs? I think I wrote an article on this. With the air wing, you're talking about north of 20 billion. With the air wing. Just the carrier, probably 10 to 12 billion. Vivangshu Chauhan, why did you block Backadder on Twitter? M. Anirudh, does Archer have ATOL SAT COM like Tapas? And when can we expect production of Archer and Tapas? Okay, does Archer... Yes, Archer does have both ATOL and SATCOM like Tapas. And when can we expect production? Well, soon. Next question. Vinod Reddy. Updates on indigenous medium transport aircraft? Well, HAL wants it, but it's going to cost money. So it will require Cabinet Committee of Security clearance. Basically PMO clearance. So there's the... Do we really possess capability to produce indigenous MTM? More or less. But then the question of the engines will always be there. You need high bypass turbofan engines. Frontliner UV. PLA Artillery Brigade is operating truck launch ASN-29 tactical UAV for target acquisition. We had similar type UAV Nishant. Why we scrapped that program? Well, they allowed many of the Nishants crashed actually into oblivion. And then they didn't renew it. But we do have tactical UAVs for as part of our SATA and all that as well. Not a problem. Vivangshu Chauhan, what is P282 missile? Park is calling it hypersonic missile. Park Navy also reached tender for it back. It's an anti-ship ballistic missile actually. Calling it hypersonic missile, does it have a hypersonic, is it a booster with a hypersonic, hypersonic glide vehicle? I don't think so. And P282, if P282 comes to pass, you can be sure it will basically be under CHICOM control. Because Pakistan Navy does not have the, Abbasi may say whatever, but Pakistan Navy does not have the ISR for P282. And NESCOM can't really develop what they are claiming they can. Right? See, the biggest problem with anything which is conventionally armed and is trying to attack a floating, a surface ship at sea is basically first there is the ISR kill chain. You need satellites. You need those satellites to be able to talk to drones and other maritime patrol aircraft. You need to fuse that together to provide a composite picture. Then in the terminal stage, you need something which will you need basically the re-entry warhead or whatever, the hypersonic glide. Forget about HGV for Pakistan. You need an X-band seeker basically, and you need a radome which will retain its transmissibility for that particular frequency. They even while encountering intense ablation during re-entry, huge re-entry temperatures, massive re-entry temperatures, and yet not lose its integrity. that is not so easily done. It requires very advanced materials, and whether even the Chinese have done it or not, we'll see. Okay, so forget about the NESCOM being able to do it. P282, if whatever they are claiming it is, it means it's basically just a Chinese something that the Chinese have created, which has been transferred to them. Most likely a DF-21 Delta. Okay, next question. Avinash Yelamarti asks, why is the government so slow in placing orders for Indian designed aircraft like HCT-40, LCH and LUH when it's pushing for made in India? Even funds for LCA Mark II and AMC have been delayed. This is a question you better ask the government. I can't answer this question. I'm not in the government, right? So this is something that is best posed to the government, and as citizens of India, you should be asking such questions. Chandan Mishra. Okay. Next question is... ISRO isn't launching much satellites for past 3 years. Definitely a concern. Is it losing its past glory? What do you think of K. Sivan tenure? Well, K. Sivan's tenure speaks for itself, right? You know what the track record is. Whether we put the onus of it on him or on the others around him, I won't get into all that. That is not for me to unnecessarily comment on. As far as it's yes. Others also suffered from the pandemic, but they didn't have such a fall in launch numbers. People say it was because of the pandemic, this, that, but I think ISRO suffered a little too much from the pandemic as compared to other space agencies, even compared to the Russians. Forget about the Chinese, okay? This year, they are basically going to do 6, they've done 2 successful launches. They had 2 more PSLVs programmed, although government only says there's 1 more. Let's see. So at least 3 PSLVs this year. 1 GSLV this year with NVS-01. You have 2 basically GSLV Mark IIIs, 1 carrying Chandrayaan. So that's 4 and 2, 6. And of course 2 SSLV launches, so 8. So we should see 8 launches from ISRO this year. I hope they at least stick to this number. If you've seen their internal documents and these presentations made by their officials over the years, they were supposed to have come to 15 to 18 launches by 2022. Are they anywhere near that? Discrete launches, that is. So yeah, there are issues over there which need to be addressed. And remember one thing, ISRO, Department of Space, comes directly under the Prime Minister's office. So the Prime Minister's office has to give a lot of attention to this particular area. Just creating in-space and NSIL, that's not enough. The core technology body has to be given a lot of attention, which is ISRO, obviously. Okay, next question. Negotiator Navy. Can IAC-1 Vikrant be fitted with a pair of jet blast deflectors in a refit? Oh, and a powder catapult also. I don't think there is any need for this. But let's see. Okay. Shoptarshi DG asks, will you see an VTOL TED-BF in future? No. You will not even see you will see TED-BF for sure, but no VTOL TED-BF. Has India ever thought of similar project after Harry's retirement? Not that I know of. Maybe some people in the Navy's aviation wing may have, but no. Okay. Shahin Rai asks, please give us a few details of DRDO proposed SSK design. Nothing to share at the moment, although there was this one, CAD-CAM sort of drawing, AutoCAD drawing that they had released, which I had also shared. Ayush Shah, any update on India's hail zones? We'll write an article on this. We may even do a short video. Okay. We have a question from Hemant Swami. We support your effort in bringing out truth about the indigenous products. Without IAH, Ladakh would have sold India. I'll tell you one thing. Without IAH, without DDR, many things may not have come to pass. And this is not something, I'm not exaggerating here. Even people within the government have told us this. See, what we do basically is by putting the truth out there, by analyzing things properly, by putting things in perspective, by making the public aware of what exactly our capabilities are, what we can do and what we cannot do, we create a thought process wherein people understand why we need indigenization and how we need to go about it. And that strengthens the hands of the people within the system who want India to go forward, who want to do the right thing. So that is why what we have done matters. And in the last 10 years, in fact, I have spent basically the last 14 years just pushing indigenization at the cost of many other things, it has worked. But I can at least say that it has worked, and people within the government, very senior people within the government, have told us that it has worked. So you must keep supporting it, and your future basically depends on indigenization. Without indigenization, India does not have much of a future. We need to indigenize more and more. Okay, next question. DC Fact asks the latest news on SC 200 engine. I've already said that, answered that question. Are you okay? We have M. Anirudh asking. Okay, one final question, Dada. Is Archer capable of carrying Nag 80 GM, or a lighter variant is being developed? Something lighter. Something lighter. I had I had shared a picture many moons ago, which DRDO had given to me, of what is now called the Archer UAV with two Nag launchers. Okay, like those were the daddies of the Dhruvastra launcher, sort of. So the idea was there, but the amount of the amount of stress on the airframe, I think, would have been a little too high, which is why they may have dropped the idea at that time. Of course, the Archer has much better avionics and things like that. Satcom 8 all fully proven, etc., etc. Maybe the body is also a little strengthened, perhaps. Maybe it's not only built from a kit. So those issues are there, but Archer will see light of day. Moinak Bormon, is Pakistan's Project Azam really going nowhere? Anywhere? It all depends on whether the Chinese can make FC-31 work, basically. And I don't think they can. Lazy facts. Sir, HAL in conversation with private sector, medium lift aircraft. Yes, it needs to be done. Bhavishya, if the chances of China messing with Bharat is high compared to Taiwan, then don't you think delaying MMRCA program and government will turn disastrous, especially when we see that our missile data are leaked? No, we have to go full on. See, a lot of indigenous PGMs and air-to-air missiles have been developed. Air-to-air systems have been developed. Those need to be produced in very high numbers. I think Harshvardhan Thakur keeps saying that it's not just the number of platforms you have, although that matters a great deal, as I said earlier in the program. But it also matters what level of, what's your munitions depth and what kind of munitions you have. I think we need to move quicker on that, because MRFA, either way, takes time, but you are going to see the MRFA decision this year. It's going to be for all 114 aircraft. Okay, next question. Rishabh Kumar, recent activities like that in Udaipur happen when politicians at state levels provide protection to religious NGOs for votes. What's the solution? I won't go into this in IAH. Okay. There are many things that need to be fixed on that side of things. There's no point in my detailing all that. Let's stick to the topic. Okay. Russell Thunder, as strong as the Russian military is, we had seen that the biggest issue was logistics and support. In that sense, in your opinion, how capable is the logistical support for military? See, in the plains, it's very capable. You saw that 64-kilometer jam, right, in the beginning of the conflict. Our our daily convoys span 32 kilometers and all through various axes, and we don't have. We have excellent truck-based logistics. Russians are very dependent on rail logistics. We have good rail-based logistics also. We have improved our logistics, both along the line of actual control as well. But more needs to be done, which is why I keep saying we need to build up faster and faster and faster. And we need to bring in private contractors. Some private contractors have shown excellent results in building roads and all. As far as trucks are concerned, form-up areas, we are not lacking in all that. And our drivers are better trained. They're never going to abandon a tank in the field. An Indian Army tank driver will risk death rather than leaving his tank in some field and running away. And I'm not joking here. Okay, next question. Frontliner UV, was there... Okay. Okay. Abhi, are the components of broadside jet engine tech controlled by US? Some of them, yes. Fusion fame. Suppose if IF and Navy sign deal with France, Rafale and DRDO choose Safran jet engine development, won't we give an offer to France to merge AMC and FCAS and make the technology together? There may be some collaboration, but there's no need to merge anything. AMCA is a proprietary design, it's a unique design, and it's a very good design. It was tested in Calspan, which of course means that the Americans know about it also. But it doesn't have the problems in design that, say, the LCA Mark 1 would have had. Let me just put it that way. And even those were somewhat fixed. Okay. So now let's go next. Negotiate a navy. The question about jet blast deflectors did not include catapults. There's some space to park aircraft behind the long takeoff position. Having jet blast deflectors can help us park aircraft. Yeah, well, okay. Maybe they'll consider it, but I don't see it being added just like that to park extra aircraft. And I think it's been designed for a certain number of aircraft, and I think we'll be probably, let's just optimize the aviation wing. But I don't know exactly, because this is something that if you want, I can talk to somebody in the Navy, and if they're willing to share, I'll share it with you. KK, sir, can Indian Navy take on the combined might of plan and PN in the Indian Ocean? Right now, yes, but it needs to keep building up as well. Satyaki, FT2 glide bombs. Oh yeah, I thought this was indigenization appreciation hour, but I keep getting questions on. Anyway, I'll write something on range extension kits and other things with both the Chicoms and the parks. Okay. Next question. Mil Jisal. Why not scrap MRFA, MMRC in favor of Tejas Mark II? No, the timelines are just not there. And also MRFA, the Air Force thinks it has a particular role to play. But you see, the MRFA should not become a reason for the inordinately delaying Tejas Mark II either. That should not be the case. That's exactly what we are talking about. Divyanshu Srivastav. How will the threat from TB2 and Akinci drones of PA for us? I did answer this. Again, we'll do a video on this problem, on what can be done. Alucard. All PLAF air brigades are like 1,000 kilometers away. Only 3 brigades are close to our border. Can Chinese really achieve air superiority? They can't. They will not achieve air superiority. Like to maintain logistics, launch along air campaigns. They will not. They will depend on PLARF, and they will depend on ground-based air defenses. You know, people, some of the fools that you have who talk about, and there are some. There's a German chap also, I think, who's a big PLA watcher, and he sort of collaborates with one chap who used to run a magazine in India, and was basically just an AD com. They say all kinds of rubbish things about the PLAF's capability vis-a-vis us, and all kinds of nonsense about what the Chinese can manage against us. The Chinese can't pull off all that. They just can't. Simulations have also been done at our end. Okay, you should avoid people like this and not listen to the garbage that they spew. Okay, and next question is Avinash Yelamatti asks, I have seen that the aircraft brake stop of ISC-1 has been located according to the wheel position on the MiG-21. Okay. Isn't this a short-sighted decision? No, not really. Because if you're trying to say that we can't fly anything off it, that is not the case. There are many things on the deck that can be done. It's not as simple as that. Okay, the ISC has also been designed for what was supposed to be basically the LCA Navy, which by the way will be built and deployed also, which is a news that I hope will make you happy. It's an interim solution till the TED BF in some ways. Divyanshu Srivastav is asking another question. How better is Uttam Mesa against Israeli Alta 2052 for Tejas Mark 1? Oh, it's our radar. It has all the modes, interleaving, everything has been achieved. And it's more capable than the Alta M2052 for the simple reason that Alta M2052 is a export version given to us. So it's downgraded. So our Uttam is obviously more capable than what we are getting from the Israelis. Ravi, okay. Elijah Hange asks, Ravi Mohan Chan asks, there were reports of blitzkrieg exercise by Indian LSC. What do you make of it? We are sending a message to them that we are not going to stay on the defensive. We are also going to launch offensive ops. We do have one entire strike corps now deployed against them in the northern command, right? So the message was sent. I would have also opted for a name other than blitzkrieg though, but then I guess they want to be blunt. But it also shows just how high tensions are running along the line of actual control. Because there are no inhibitions anymore. And the Chinese did that by basically breaking the border protocol framework in 2020. And I had told I had addressed a gathering of diplomats, our diplomats, and I had told them that they will misuse the border protocol framework within the next few years. But the people there were incredulous. Anyway, okay, next question. Elijah Henge. Is Elijah Henge asks, is there any program to make Su-30 less visible? You mean like a new nose cone? You mean like a new, basically a new nose cone? Radar nose, radome for the Su-30, and also better windshield material, etc. Let's not comment on this. Moinak Bormon, a little out of topic. Our whole electronics infrastructure and ecosystems are dependent on China. Isn't it scary? Yes, it is. But on the strategic side of things, we have taken certain. There has been a lot of There have been contingency measures that have been adopted. How can we overcome it? What are we doing? Well, we are building up our own electronics, base, but we need to have those semi-fabs here. That's one thing we need. But things like PCBs and all are now being built in India, and the number of suppliers is increasing. And of course, we need to also secure the critical material supply chain. That is also one very important thing. Most wanted. Will AMC have rectangular exhaust nozzles like F-22 or circular spiky ones? It is, it has the same kind of nozzles as the F-35. We wrote a whole article on it. So you can read our article on the AMC. It's from 2019. Right? So I think the answer there is pretty well known. So in the case of the similar concept, that is. Sagar Bhavsar, why can't we develop let me share that AMC article with you so that this thing is answered once and for all. Just bear with me for a second. I just want to share this article because I don't want to answer the same questions again and again. So I would highly recommend that you read this article. I went into some details about the intake design of the AMC, which is obviously DSI. So you can read about it. I just shared the link. Whoever is interested in the AMC as intakes can read about it in this link. It's from 2019. Okay, Sagar Bhavsar asks, why can't we develop gas turbine engine on our own? Is it because of lack of money or lack of talent? No, now money will have to be put up anyway. We didn't create the kind of test facilities that you need, and we have to do a lot of catching, not a lot, but some amount of catch up on the material side. On the design side, we are quite capable now. So we are in a position to absorb a foreign whatever comes by way of a foreign collaboration. But even in terms of materials, we've done a fair bit of work. The real question is, what kind of jet engine do you want? You want a jet engine which will have 2000 TET, 2000 degree centigrade TET, which will have 110 kN wet thrust, etc., which will have a certain kind of OPR. That kind of jet engine, you need collaboration. Okay, Suryam Chaudhary asks, India working on anything similar to Aegis or in planning? Yes, working on it. Rishabh Kumar, okay. Yeah, okay. How is P75I procurement going? You know what the answer is. I think I shared an interview that Manish Kumar Jha conducted with the Defense Secretary Ajay Kumar. I think he's given an update there. You should read that. That is basically where things are at right now. Rishabh Kumar, how will the Indian Army fare against Chinese Army if attacked today? It will give a very good account of itself. If they are given a free hand, they will not just give a bloody nose. How long will it last? Not more than a month. Numbers are clearly on their side, not in terms of personnel. Firepower also, they don't have a 10:1 advantage. Nothing close to that. Archit Chauhan. Sir, has Uttam Mesa completed flight testing for LSP2 and LSP3? Yes, the program has. Sorry if you answered this already. Even it's not on indigenization. What is it then? Okay. Dheeraj B. Why so low profile for Tejas Mark 1A flight? Because whenever you do anything, people start saying, why are you crooning about something before it has reached fruition? How close is the deal with Malaysia? It has been answered. What is the timeline for full-scale prototype for Ghatak? Within the next 3-4 years. That is the timeline. It's not called Ghatak anymore. Or at least that's what I know. KK. So will the semiconductor fab push government is doing help in defense sectors as well? Yes, most certainly. Most certainly it will help. Vyuha. Are we on the same level as Chinese and Russian 5th gen fighter development? Let our 5th generation fighter fly? I will say yes after that. And after a decade, where do you see aircraft and missile capabilities of India with comparison to Russia and China? Will exceed Russia and China in certain classes in a decade's time. Right now, we are maybe 3 to 5 years behind Russia, maybe 2 to 3 years behind China in some areas, not in every area. Some areas were quite okay. Maybe not 2 to 3, I would say 2, 1.5 maybe max. Even. But do I think India's rise to top throne has started? As I see history rhythms, India is like US, USSR 1940. Well, yes, we are. I also believe in India's manifest destiny. I also see India becoming one of the leading super. There will be other superpowers, but it should aspire to become the leading superpower in the world by 2047. But for that, you need to want to do that, okay? There are some people who are saying, oh, external security doesn't matter, nuclear weapons don't matter, semiconductors don't matter, economy doesn't matter. Only that man down the street who has said something or not said something and is the same color and blood as me, but is apparently is from some other religion matters, then you have a problem, okay? We have to get out of this phase now. Enough is enough. You decide what you matter. When the Delhi riots were happening, I said this is not conducive to our country's stability or economy. There are a whole bunch of people who told me, "Are economy गई भैंस में, देश में जो पनप रहा है उसको खत्म करना है." So if they have this kind of a mindset, then what is the point of asking me this question? Answer these questions yourself. I personally believe that India's manifest destiny lies in becoming the leading superpower of this world. That is going to help India's history, that is going to help India's culture, that is going to ensure that the world looks up at both India's present and past in approving light, because that is how power flows in this world, if you get what I'm saying. The rest is up to you. All of you have minds of your own, you can decide. Okay, Avinash Yelamarti. Could you do an article about the lost cancelled aviation projects like the HF-74, HTT-34, the collaboration with Egypt on their HA-300 and the engine being developed for it? Yeah, I think there is a whole article on some old Indian defense website about this whole HA-300. HF, yeah, 73, we can do. HTT-34, we can do something on that also. Okay. Pratik Rocks asks, what are the delays in ATAGs? What do you make of AMAX trucks? Version of the same one. AMAX will happen. ATAGs nothing. They wanted some changes in the firing rate and all. I think those have been reliably attained in these summer trials. Okay. What about the jet engine test facility? Till then, when we are dependent on foreign countries or testing, so that SPV that is going to be made for jet engine development will make sure that all the required facilities, and there are 4 or 5 discrete facilities that we need, are going to be built in India. One of the reasons our missile program took off was capability infrastructure development. That was completely lacking in our jet engine program, and that is why it is where it is. Okay. Fine, we have more questions. Russell Thunder. Okay. God of Ravadas. The Americans are a generation ahead in the field of aircraft. That NGAD and FACS can easily shoot down AMC in future. We'll see. what they can shoot down or not shoot down. Even today, what the F-35 can do to 4.5 generation fighters is also a matter of debate. But whether they are a generation, whether they are 10 or 12 years ahead of us, not, they are 10 years ahead of us in aircraft development. There's no doubt. In missile development, they are 5 to 7 years ahead of us. Or maybe 5 years now, same as the Russians, the Americans. Because the Russians are also very capable. So yes, 5 years and 10 years. In jet engine development, they're 20 years ahead of us. So there you have it. Okay, I think I've answered a whole bunch of questions. 7:15 has happened. So I think I'm going to call it an evening now. Thank you for joining in. I'm glad that most of you kept your answers to the topic at hand. I really don't want to answer political issues because the state of affairs is such, it doesn't matter really. So anyway, thank you for joining in. Have a good Sunday evening. That is whatever is left of it. See you next time. Jai Hind.